I'm always humble enough to realize that, you know, I could be running into that horse that's just about to prove me wrong. Okay, so like we said yesterday, got that lead, got a good chunk of mane. Get on up. So usually my first port of call, riding this sort of horse, or any sort of horse, is to get up here and do that little bit of sacking out that I did on the ground. So on the ground, he's had the lead rope flipped all around him and he doesn't care. So I'm about to do the same. So there's a little bit of that. I'm going to grab hold of my monkey handle just in case anything happens. I'm going to move my legs around because I can't ride him like that and not move. I need to be able to move around. He's already had me put my hand from there to there. So when I get on him, and I've swung my stirrup from there to there. So when I get on him, that's one of those things, you know, can I move my legs all over him? Can I touch him from his shoulder through to his flank and have him not care too much? So he's really cool with that moving around. He doesn't care at all about me moving around. But like I said, I don't think that's going to be this guy's issue. It's going to be more when I say, hey, you got to go. And he's like, I'm not carrying your fat butt around. You can do that yourself. So I'd like to go through all this sacking out that I did on the ground from horseback before I ask him to move. Because I want him to know that if I'm moving, it is not necessarily aggressive. Because in his case, when I do ask him to move later, I might have to get a little aggressive and say, no, you got to go when you're told. But he hasn't really done much today to show that it'd be a big problem. And he's moved forward really quite freely while I was on the ground. So, you know, there's a reasonable chance he might just move off pretty cool too. And we could do some little bends, although that's not necessarily imperative for me. But sometimes it's a good way to start moving. So if he doesn't want to move, obviously a horse is a little bit more concerned. They tend to move off on their own. I don't have to work at it too much. But him, I'm going to try to get him to move with the least fuss possible. And I'm always trying to avoid an argument. But there's the odd horse that argument will come and it's going to happen and you just kind of go through it. What you're hoping is that you've prepared them well enough that the argument's not too big. And if I nip it in the bud, like any argument, if I fix it when it's small, it's so much easier to fix. If I keep on a negotiation table for too long, you know, they can get, you know, just annoyed. And, you know, they feel like we're nagging them. Another quick reason why we start in a halter, we're always going to have arguments or discussions on a young horse like, well, I'd like you to go over there. And he's going, but the other horses are over there. And I need you to go over there and we'll have an argument. And I'm going to probably have to pull on his nose a bit. So I'd rather have all those little arguments out of the way so he gets to that point, you know, okay, you're making the decisions. And then I teach him some basics about moving off my leg and all that kind of stuff. And I'll do that in a little bosal. And, you know, all of those, you know, basic controls about who's making the decisions, that's all gone before I put a bit in his mouth. And I think I've just got horses better that way. I put horses in bridles in the second or third ride and they turned out okay, but I think overall I get a much softer result. having all the main things done in a halter and a bosal, and then when I get to a bit, you know, we're not still having that discussion about who's making the decision sort of thing. So we've sacked him out a lot and we've bent him around a bit, and he's still not offering forward, which is again kind of what I thought he was going to do. So I'm going to have to ask him to go, and that might be where we have a little argument. So I'm just going to tap him on the butt. And when he goes, of course, it stops. There's not much point kicking him at this stage, because kicking him to go forward is a trained response. Like, you're attacking his belly. You know, saddle bronc riders attack their belly to make them buck. Well, I'm not after that. So I am going to squeeze, and I'll move my legs a little. So while he's walking and he hasn't got too concerned, I'm going to do a little bit of just sacking him out again. Legs forward and back, rubbing him down. Because I can rub him with my feet, and my legs can be actually, you know, a source of reassurance. It's like I'm patting him with my feet. And later on, I'm going to ask him to move off my leg, and I will put a spur on, and he's got to step up and be a big boy. But right now, I just want him to be really cool with me being on him, moving around. So now, we're going to do a little bit of sacking him out with that lead rope on the move. So he's pretty cool. Like, people have clucked to him and asked him to move on the ground before. So he does associate that clucking with he's got to move his feet. Because my idea today is I want a passenger. I do want him to go through all 3 paces. And I want him to have my legs all over him and my hands all over him. But I'm not steering and stopping and doing a whole bunch. I'm leaving the halter on because I'm going to play around a little bit with some turns, but I'm not even really necessarily going to get into any one rein stops or anything. I'm not trying to impose much on him today. I'm just up here, you know, we're hopefully having a nice cool introduction to the world of being ridden. G'day, thank you so much for watching. If you could like, share, subscribe, turn on the notifications bell, that would be awesome. Thank you. Cheers. Let's go up into second gear. And sometimes that can be an issue. Like, walking's okay, they're ambling around, they go into second. The scared horse is like, well, I'm trotting and now you're trotting. You know, I'm starting to chase him as fast as he moves. That could bother him. This guy might just get cranky because he's like, really? You want me to run with you on my back? And I have to think about how I'm using this lead rope on his butt. Because if I keep nagging him, I could actually get more reaction. So that last 1 or 2 got a little heavier. I need him to know that I will escalate that if I need to. And he did a little jog. He's going to get a reward for that. He doesn't have to jog a lot. All I wanted him to do was ask him to jog. That's a nice jog. This is really soft and slow. We'll pat him from his rump through to his head. Legs all over him again. Let him know that he's doing great. And then ask him to move. And I can ride pretty well, but I still go for this little panic handle just in case something comes up. Because if he jumps around and has a problem, whether I could ride, I don't want to find out if I can ride him or not. I need to try and make sure I've done everything I can to stay here. Because if he were to offload me today, that'd be a really bad lesson for him. And obviously, depending on how I land, it'd be a really bad day for me too. So he's jogging a lot freer there, which is great. And again, I'm just passengering, might flop these legs around a bit. This is a really cool job. We'll try to encourage him here. Do a little bit more to the right, look at me out of this right eyeball. And he's so soft and cool, he's just kind of following the fact that that lead rope's hanging out the right side. I'm not really pulling on it. But like I said, I wouldn't get in a big pulling match. I'm not really here to impose on him too much. I do just want him to kind of move around, go through the gears, and have to deal with a passenger now. And the other thing that's really important is if he got scared and he jumped and he ran forward, I don't go bang on that halter. I sit here and I go with him. It's like he's got to work through that. My job's going to be to stay on him while he works through it. Because if he does get scared and I bang on his head and rip into that halter, I'm just going to give him something to be more scared about. Good. We'll try and tip him up into a lope. And if he lopes around just for a few strides nice, that'll be it. If he's going to have an argument, and we've seen him, discuss that on the ground. When he had the canter, he got pretty cranky about it. So the canter will be interesting, but if he canters around a little bit and he does a nice job, that'll be great. I'll do a bit this way and I'll do a bit that way. If I ask him and he kind of says, well, that's all well and good, but stuff you, I'm not going to give you that bit extra, I'm going to have to push him a bit. And I need to make sure that I push him enough that he knows he's got to go when he's told. But I don't want his first lesson to be, when in doubt, go. Nice job. So we don't want any false fumbles, and his first takeoff was almost a fumble. He kind of did it, but he didn't really know whether he'd done what he should or not. So I just wanted a little bit more out of him. Just displayed a little bother when I did that, so we'll double check that. That was a really smooth slope too. And I almost wanted to see him do a little bit so that you'd know it was his first ride. Because sometimes I start horses and I think, well, if I told people it was their first ride, they'd go, nah, he's been ridden before. And especially when they step off that cool. But I still, that argument I'm predicting, not an argument, but a discussion again about who's leading and who's following. That could come on day 2, day 3. It could be at the end of the second week where he goes, well, yeah, well, it's been fun and I've enjoyed this, entertaining change from my normal life. You're riding me around, that's great. But at some point he'll go, really? I got to do this every day? This is a forever thing? I got to carry you around? And he might have a problem then. And I'm just kind of setting up a puzzle until he goes, oh, if I bring it right around, can I get the pressure right away? That's what we're chasing. So that he knows if he comes to me, there's always that spot where there's no real pressure on him. But I'm not trying to pull him off and let him go. I'm holding, like just saying he lost his balance a little. I'm holding and waiting for him to do the release. I'm not trying to make him release. And there's such a vast difference to what, some people do. We did a little bit of, backing him up on the ground. So we'll play around a little bit with that up here. Nice. Good job. I'll do that again. Good job. Because he's had this happen on the ground, but obviously not on the back. He releases his feet, pressure goes away. So he's there, I've got him bent, I've got his head around. My weight's already in a position where if he were to jump, I'm probably going to be clear anyway. And you know, step off him the way I got on. And cool, that's very cool. It's a very textbook first ride. It's kind of what I'd expect from him. I did think he could have been a little bit more argumentative at some point, but he learned his lessons from yesterday. He started today much different to yesterday. So yeah, excellent first ride. He's obviously stressed to the max. So yeah, it's a great spot for him to end. And catch you on day 3. And don't forget, go out, give your horse a rub, because he's doing the best he can with the human he got stuck with. G'day, thank you very much for watching. I do really appreciate it. This video of Gino's journey is meant to be more of a entertainment video, not educational, as in it's not a how-to video. All horses react and start differently. If you are going to attempt to start your own horse, you really need to enlist the help of a seasoned professional, or get a seasoned professional to do your horse for you and get them started. It's not an easy job, and it's not a job to be taken lightly, because this is your horse's introduction to the rest of his riding career, and it's really not to be messed with. So take it for what it is. It's a lot of fun to watch. It's been a lot of fun to share, and I really appreciate that you've taken the time to watch it and that you'll keep watching the channel. Thank you very much. Cheers.